What is the covenant of David from a Jewish perspective? The covenant of David from a Jewish perspective refers to the promise made by God to King David in the Hebrew Bible. According to this covenant, God promised that there would always be a descendant of David on the throne of Israel. This promise is seen as an eternal and unbreakable bond between God and the Jewish people. The covenant of David is significant in Jewish theology because it establishes a line of kingship that is believed to lead ultimately to the Messiah. The Messiah is expected to be a descendant of King David, who will rebuild the third temple in Jerusalem and bring about a time of peace and prosperity for all humanity. In addition, the covenant of David symbolizes God's faithfulness and commitment to his chosen people. It serves as a reminder that even in times of hardship and exile, God's promises will endure and eventually be fulfilled. Overall, the covenant of David holds great importance in Jewish tradition as it represents hope for the future redemption and restoration of Israel.
Some Islamic scholars argue that the Davidic covenant, which traditionally refers to the promise made by God to King David in the Hebrew Bible, 2 Samuel 7 verses 12 to 16, that his descendants would rule over Israel forever, is superseded by the events described in Surah Sad 38 verses 34 to 35 of the Quran. Here's how their argument unfolds. Surah 38 verses 34 to 35 read, "And we certainly tried Solomon, and placed on his throne a body. Then he repented. He said, 'My Lord, forgive me and grant me a kingdom such as will not belong to anyone after me. Indeed, you are the bestower.'" This verse is interpreted as a divine test of Solomon's faith and devotion. Following this test, Solomon repents and asks God for forgiveness and a kingdom unlike any other after him. This request is seen as a pivotal moment where Solomon acknowledges his dependence on God and seeks divine favor. God responds to Solomon's repentance by granting him a unique kingdom, as described in Surah 38, verses 35 to 39. This kingdom includes control over the wind, jinn, and other supernatural beings, which signifies a divine bestowal of power and authority. Scholars argue that this divine intervention and the granting of a unique kingdom to Solomon indicate that the Davidic covenant, which promised an eternal kingdom to David's lineage, has been superseded. Here are the key points. 1. Divine test and repentance. The test and subsequent repentance of Solomon are seen as a divine intervention that shifts the focus from the Davidic lineage to Solomon's personal relationship with God. This shift implies that the promise of an eternal kingdom is now contingent on individual piety and divine favor rather than lineage alone. 2. Unique kingdom. The kingdom granted to Solomon is described as unlike any other, suggesting that it transcends the traditional understanding of the Davidic covenant. This unique kingdom is not just about political rule, but encompasses spiritual and supernatural authority, which is seen as a new covenant or a redefinition of the old one. 3. Divine sovereignty. The narrative emphasizes God's sovereignty in granting and taking away power. This underscores that the promise of an eternal kingdom is subject to God's will, not an unconditional promise to a lineage. 4. Universal message. This interpretation aligns with the Quranic theme of universal prophethood and divine guidance, where the message of Islam is for all humanity, not just a specific lineage or nation. 5. Historical context. Some scholars also consider the historical context where the Davidic kingdom did not last eternally in the traditional sense, suggesting that the Quranic narrative provides a theological explanation for this historical reality. 6. Prophetic succession. In Islam, leadership and divine favor culminate in the final prophethood of Muhammad rather than in a perpetual Davidic monarchy. In summary, some Islamic scholars interpret Surah 38, verses 34 to 35, as signifying the end of the Davidic covenant. Solomon is seen as requesting a special form of dominion from God, which was granted, thus setting the stage for a new divine structure for spiritual leadership within Islam.